Welcome back to At Your Peak. I'm Ryan Kibbe talking fundamentals, and the entire week we have discussed victorious mindsets and the renewed mind which proves the will of God. This morning I want to talk to you about little things and large outcomes. This is a part of a victorious mindset. Little things, large outcomes. I finished up yesterday's talk just talking about attaching great faith and great hope to little things. I want to expound on that this morning with little things and large outcomes. Here's what Zechariah 4:10 says. It says, "Don't despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." Oftentimes, we want to see the finished product of something someone else is doing or compare it. Or sometimes we'll look at things and go, man, I have this great big vision, and I see the oak tree, but all I have is this acorn. Well, the oak tree is actually in the acorn. The identity of the oak tree is in the acorn, but you got to plant the acorn for the oak tree to happen. We can't despise the small beginnings of the oak tree being planted as an acorn into the ground. Some of you just need to take the first step, because the first step is often the most difficult step. Don't overlook and overreach the little things that are right in front of you. Sometimes that acorn that we think is an acorn, we don't think it's an acorn. And God's given you resource to work with, like fishes and loaves, that He wants to multiply like He did with the feeding of the 5,000. What's in your hands so He can release His? Give God something to work with. And don't overlook the things that are right there in front of you. There may be opportunities right there in front of you, little things, little beginnings that you haven't thought of because you're so blinded by someday, somewhere, out there. It's so nebulous. And God's saying, don't overlook what's right there in front of you, the little things. This pertains to relationships, pertains to our Christian walk, our churches, our jobs, our home lives. Don't overlook the little things. And then attaching big faith to small things is the seedbed for big outcomes. Here's the questions to ponder. Am I paralyzed by fear to start the new thing? God may be speaking to some of you about starting a new thing. It could be a new habit, a new workout program. It could be a new way to dialogue with my spouse or my kids or my in-laws or my outlaws. Am I afraid to start the new thing? Don't despise the small beginnings. Start somewhere. And here's another question to ponder. Do I compare other people's highlight reels to my behind the scenes? Oftentimes we look at, I've done this as a pastor. I've looked at sometimes, I'll look at other churches that I'm not there. You'll see these big, massive buildings with thousands of people and worldwide platforms. And if I'm not careful, I'll say that, man, their highlight reels look fantastic, and my behind the scenes don't measure up. But what we don't know is that they have behind the scenes too. And God is always dealing with problems and upgrades, and it's not wise to compare other people's highlight reels to my behind the scenes. We're all in process. We all have different things that we face and problems. Grass isn't always greener. And by the way, the other thing is somebody somewhere decided to do something little thing that had a large outcome. And jealousy isn't an excuse. If somebody has abundance because they've followed the process and plan of God, why get jealous over what you see? You say, well, that's their highlight reel. They did the work with God. They did the inner work with God, and they had great harvest. Don't despise your small beginning either. Someday somebody might be taking a pot shot at you because they're jealous of what work you did with God to be pruned, to be fruitful and successful. Let's not compare. And then thirdly, how can I renew my mindset to celebrate the little wins? How can I renew my mindset? Because when you do celebrate the little things through gratitude, there's a spiritual momentum. We see it all throughout the Bible. Jesus took the bread, gave thanks. And the Bible says, then he distributed the fishes and loaves and they multiplied. There's something supernatural released when you just release gratitude for the wins in your life, for the family you do have, for the income you do have, for the car that you do drive, for the balanced nutrition that you have that maybe others don't. Celebrate the victories at your job. Well, my boss doesn't see it. No, but God sees it. Celebrate the wins. Renew the mind. It's little things in your mindset that can produce large outcomes. It's knowing that you're seen by you work unto your Lord. God will show your boss who is really boss, and that's him. God will always take care of you if you do what he's doing and you learn his ways and his heart behind his ways, not just rules. I challenge you to do little things with large outcomes. You will see large outcomes. Questions to ponder here. I pray that you take them seriously and ask yourself, am I paralyzed by fear? Do I compare? And how can I celebrate the little wins? Love you, and we'll see you next week.